In this video, I'm going to go through how to add acceleration into a game. Typically, this looks like gravity, but you could also use it in a lot of different ways. But basically, I'll show you an example using gravity. So in this case, we have something like this. And we can see the ball is traveling down slowly at first, and it increases in speed over time. And so that's what acceleration is, right? Our velocity is increasing over time. So if you look at like every frame, the ball is going down more and more each frame. Okay, it's picking up speed. So essentially what we need to do is a little bit of physics. And what we have here, we have three things that are kind of interacting with each other. We have acceleration, velocity, and position. So acceleration affects velocity, and velocity affects position. Velocity is going to change the location of the object by a certain amount. And acceleration is going to change velocity by a certain amount. So it's going to increase velocity by a certain amount. So that's why when we look at this, we can see to begin with every frame, it's maybe moving 3 pixels, and then it's moving 4 pixels each frame, then 5, then 10, 6, whatever. It's increasing over time as we go. So that's where acceleration comes into play here. So I'm going to go through and we're going to code out how to make this work. Okay, so I'm going to start with 3 key variables, just basic ones about my circle. That's x value, its y value, and its size. Also, what I need to add in here is I need to add 2 variables that are going to keep track of my velocity, and they're going to keep track of my acceleration. For acceleration, yes, we're going to do that. For acceleration, I think I'm going to set acceleration. I want it to be very small, because if our acceleration is large, it's having a very rapid impact on velocity. So if our acceleration is too large, it'll make the thing shoot off the screen really quickly. So we want to have a very subtle adjustment to acceleration. I'm going to make this like 0.1, although you can definitely play around with these values. I'm going to say 0.1, and I'm going to say f in here. So 0.1, if I were to just say 0.1, Java's going to get a little bit mad at us. It's saying it doesn't know how to convert from a double to a float. Basically, we're storing these values as float because that's kind of what processing likes to deal with. So we do want to keep this as a float, but if we just do this by itself, it'll think it's a double. We put a little f next to it to say, hey, this value is going to be a float. So just a minor little thing if you see that in there. Okay, so inside of our draw, here's what's going to happen. The very last thing we're going to do is we're going to actually draw our circle. So we're going to say circle, we have circle x, circle y, circle size. Okay, now inside here we want to do a couple different things to this. I want acceleration to increase velocity. So I'm going to say velocity plus equals acceleration. Okay. Velocity, and then velocity is going to affect our circle y. And to begin with, that might be really all we need to do. So if we start with our velocity being, let's say, we're going to make up here, let's say velocity is going to be equal to, let's say 3 to begin with. And then so each time we go through our loop, we're going to slightly nudge velocity up by a little bit, and then we're going to adjust circle y's value by velocity. So maybe to begin with it's 3, and then the first loop through it's going to be 3.1, then 3.2, 3.3. Every time it's going to have a greater and greater impact on circle y. So let's see what that's going to look like. I think we have enough to get started here. We can see that it's dropping like that. So that's really like the beginning of our thing dropping. Let's see, well, just to be clear about this, we could say something like, let's call this 0.9, or we could even make it larger. And we see acceleration is having a much bigger impact. You can see it kind of like slow, and then jumps off the screen because that acceleration is having such a big impact over time. So it's really having a big speed up boost there. Let's see, a couple other things we could do. I might want this to stop. I want my circle to stop at a certain point on the screen. I don't want to fall off the screen. This is kind of falling forever and ever off the screen. So I might say something like, if the circle's y value is, let's say if after we do that, if it's less than or equal to, I'm just going to put an arbitrary value in here of like 700 close to the bottom of my screen. If that's ever going to happen, we're just going to set the circle y value to be 0, and I'm also going to set velocity to be 0. So let's see what that's going to do. We watch our thing drop. Oh, let's see what I say. I should say if it's greater than or equal to 700 because I'm looking for the bottom of the screen. So let's run that, and then it should just kind of stop there. Oh, it's saying, what did I say? I'm not really thinking correctly there. There we go. That should be fine. I think we could even, yeah, that should be fine like that. That's going to stop in place right there. So we can think about that as maybe being the ground. Okay, so velocity is causing this thing to fall down over time. Velocity is increasing over time based on acceleration. Let's see. I think the other thing that we could add in here is we want to add in a jump. So I want to say if I press the space bar, so that's going to be key. If key is equal to space, then what we want to do is we want to kind of instantly update our velocity from whatever it is currently. We want it to kind of have make our ball go up. So we actually want our velocity to have like a negative impact on our Y position, right? Because if we go down, we're increasing. So we want to set it to be like a negative value to make it start to go up. And then what's going to happen is over time, so maybe it starts out at -10. Over time, our acceleration is going to take it from -10 to -9.9 to -9.8. And we're going to see the ball kind of go up slower and slower until, -9.8, maybe then it keeps dropping. Eventually it hits 0 and it'll hit the top of its drop. And then it will start increasing again. Our velocity will become positive, and the ball will come back down. So let's see if we set velocity in here to be equal to something like -10. We run that. Hit the bottom, hit space. Ball's going to shoot up, shoot back down, shoot up, and gradually fall back down. In this case, there's one thing I'm doing in here. Like I'm not really saying that. I could press spacebar as many times as I want. I guess it doesn't really matter where it's at on the screen, which allows us to do some double jumps, which may or may not be something that you want to include in your game. If we wanted to, we could also say something like, if the key is spacebar and let's say circle Y is equal to 700, so only if it's on the bottom. Circle, just be annoying. Okay. And now I think spacebar shouldn't work, hit the ground, and now spacebar is working. But if I hit space again while it's in the air, it's not going to work. Okay, so that's gravity. It's a fun little physics application. Acceleration affecting velocity, and get these kind of very realistic animations. So I hope that was helpful.